All right. So looks like my levels are up. Let me know in the chat if the sound's not right. That was that introductory song, or that first song was my one of the songs from my first band, Zachariah, which used to jam. That was jamming in the stairwell at Toons Animation way back in the mid-90s when we were working on contracts for Walt Disney Television. But enough of that. Let's get straight into the next stage of this. I can take these off now so I can hear myself. So, if you recollect, we'll just jump straight into Photoshop. I'm probably going to have to mute vlog music immediately. All right, so here we are in Photoshop. Let me jump into Photoshop as well. So if you can remember, if you are following along, this is part 3. This is the stage where we're at, where we have a separated character from the background with a blue chroma that we're gonna take away in After Effects later on. But we still need foreground, some foreground elements. We still need some different layers of the background elements. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create those other layers from the original painting. So I'm going to go and open that original painting up again. Here it is. So this is the original oil painting that I painted based on the reference photo of Duchess de Berry. See if that's convenient as well. So this is the photograph. So this is the photograph that I started with. I actually have this photograph on a monitor just off screen, so, or off camera. So I can refer to this photo as I'm working on this, which is how I've sort of started to reconstruct her hands a bit from the generation. So yeah, I've always got that reference up. So that's good. I have control over this image. It's not just Stable Diffusion taking over all of the work for me. But what I want to do is I want to feed Stable Diffusion in with some of these other different elements in the background to create more sort of elements that I can make dynamic, that I can kind of create a little bit of parallax when I'm sort of maybe pushing through a 3D camera forwards a little bit. And the advantage for me working on this is that I can use these different animations for a documentary I'm doing on Art Nouveau and promote my paintings at the same time. So it's all kind of cross-pollinating. This is kind of my plan for my business, my master plan, in my weird kind of non-neurotypical autistic brain. So anyhow, so this is where we're at. Let's just but this is what we're working on now. So we'll start with this. And what I actually need is I need a base canvas that is going to be correct for my After Effects composition. I'm probably going to have to downscale it for when I bring it into Stable Diffusion, but at this stage, I just want the right aspect ratio, because that doesn't look like a proper full ultra high definition aspect ratio. That's the aspect ratio of the canvas that I painted on. So the physical canvas. So let's create a new project, a new file. And we've got a clipboard, which is probably actually a clipboard of my ultra high definition screen, but I don't know if you can actually see this window. I did notice that sometimes some of these sub menus don't come up with my screen capture. But basically I've gone into the make new document presets, and in those presets at the sort of far right before of the preset details is film and video presets. So I've got that selected, and then I click view all presets to show me the options for 4K. So I'm going to go for 4K, DCI 4K. Actually, I'm just going to stick with, no, I'm going to go for this. It's a little bit of a bigger expanded 4K view, being that it's 4096 pixels by 2160 pixels. That's actually even bigger than my monitor, but a little bit of overscan is good for later on, and there's nothing wrong with having a higher resolution format if you need to do a cinema screening for something like this. Anyhow, that's what I'm going to do. DCI 4K 2160p versus the ultra high definition. So that looks like it's square pixels. If we go into image size and just have a look. Yeah, sorry, that's definitely not the right. So obviously I stuffed that up. Let's go new, and I'm just going to stick with ultra high definition. I'm not going to try and be fancy. I'm not going to try and overthink it. My thinking may be a little bit askew at the moment. I'm suffering from a fibromyalgia relapse, which I do. I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. I have both of those conditions, and they both affect me quite badly. Okay, so when I actually created it before, so I'm just making sure that it's got square pixels selected rather than these other different, anamorphic and other aspect ratios. But I just want square pixels. So there we go. It's created a ultra high definition canvas in square pixels. So I'm just going to jump and grab this image again and copy the whole image and just drop it in there. Then I can see how much I'm going to have to work with
with these background elements after I scale it up. And then I can kind of, maybe I'll just expand the view. I mean, I can do that when I'm creating all these other elements. But because I think I want to have the top of the tree in there. So I'll probably extend a lot of these different elements. So that's where we're at. Maybe we'll just reduce its size. So this is going to be actually the full canvas, but this is the imagery that we have to work with. So when we're using Stable Diffusion, we're going to use that to fill in a lot of the blanks for the landscape. So we'll start with this furthest part of the landscape, I suppose, just to make my life easy. Which is the hills, the rolling hills, and the sea in the sort of mid-foreground, mid-background, should I say, and the sky. So all of those I'm going to create as another layer, and I'm going to do that now. So what I have is I have a Huion graphics pen, graphics tablet display pen, drawing display. I should probably put a link to Amazon for those as well if you want to get one of those. But you can do this with a mouse, but it's 10 times harder. I didn't always have this, and I've done it for plenty of years with a mouse. But yeah, it's just torturous. So I'd rather just be able to draw my masks. So in the last video I kind of showed how to draw masks out. I'm going to do it again. Make sure I've got the right layer selected, which is layer 1. And we're going to draw out this hill range. I'm not going to worry about the sky. I'm probably going to completely construct a new sky. I'll probably just paint it digitally, or I might just get Stable Diffusion to generate one for me. But this part I'm going to grab, even though it's fairly simple shapes and it's quite far away. So I could actually let Stable Diffusion create something completely unique for me. I just want to kind of, I know it's not going to look like that in the end, but I just kind of want to retain as much as I can of the original painting, original concept. So this time around, I'm not actually going to paint a mask. I'm using the lasso tool, which is up here. It's third down in your tool section on your left. And just drawing in this background really basically. And I'll grab the foreground as well, but that's not really relevant. So now that I have that, I'm just going to copy that and paste that as a separate layer over the top. So there I have it as a separate layer. Then now I'm going to actually just hide this other layer. We don't need it right now. So this is the basic aspects of the background, but all of these other parts here have to go because they're not part of the background. So we just, again, I could probably get Stable Diffusion to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me, but just for now, I'm just going to use this smear tool that I used in, I think, the first video, or was going to show you. And I'm going to just use the smear tool and literally just like paint away the elements I don't want. Just put my glasses on. It's hard for me to see at this distance. Get a bit closer to my work. Okay. The other thing I can do is just simply select some of the colors. So if I grab, say, this brown that I've used here, and then grab the pen tool, make it reasonably big, and then I just really basically block out some of these colors. And then there's other quick tips, tricks as well. I can use the clone tool. I'm not worried about quality right now because this is just purely for a demonstration for you, so that you can do these kind of things. But I'm using clone tool now, using the Alt key to select this region, and now I'm drawing that region over the top of here. I'll make sure pasty is set to 100%, and that way I can sort of just paint out the tree but still keep it looking like a painting, versus if while I've painted over these colors here, it's kind of changed it. It doesn't look very much like an oil painting anymore. And again, I can do it here with this element as well. So I'll just create a bigger brush, Alt, and then click on this area, and then I'm going to clone this out like this. Voila. Let's do it as well for these kind of areas. Get rid of the tree trunk. It's going to be another layer. So all I really want, I can actually probably create the foreground at the same time, the very far foreground. But I just want to get rid of her. She's going to cover this area as well. So again, and Stable Diffusion is going to generate something for us. Something unique. That's really just based on basic, probably colors less than form. But it depends on how stylized I want to get. I actually probably should be getting some rest. I'm really exhausted. But as is the case with chronic fatigue, when you're really bad, you can't sleep. Not only can I not sleep, I can't lie down because it hurts too much. So it's actually more comfortable for me to sit here straight, though, than it is to lie down and try and sleep. Which is why I end up becoming a bit of a night owl insomniac when I'm working all the time. So again, I'm not worried about the quality. I'm just trying to get rid of as much of those other elements. And give Stable Diffusion something to work with, rather than just using text prompts. Not a big fan of just using text prompts. Maybe, if you're just starting an image from scratch and you don't have an idea in your head, text prompts can be good. And I mean, it's quite freeing because you're not in control anymore. Essentially, the AI is doing all of the heavy lifting for you. But I'm not a fan of just using text prompts. I like to have control. So I'm using the smudge tool just to create this water horizon line again, recreate the water horizon line. And we've got something happening there now. Again, I can use the smudge tool on the edge here, and kind of it's feathering it for me a little bit. Feathering, it's creating a little edge blur. If you don't know what feathering is. And if I zoom out a little bit, we can see that we've still got some parts of the picture that we need to do. Let's grab our clone brush again. Make it bigger. Okay, that's better. And again, not worried about quality. What I can do is I can use a square selection tool, grab this part of the landscape, copy it, paste it as another layer, and then I can just like pop it in there to fill in the gap, maybe stretch it out a little bit if it isn't quite right. If I use the shift key, then I can scale it non-uniformly. Then if I use Control E, that is going to put it down onto the layer prior to it. Now I can grab the clone brush again, and I can get rid of the seam that you can see there. So I'm just getting rid of the seam. So again, it's not perfect. It doesn't matter for the purposes of this tutorial. So now I'm just going to grab this part here, do the same thing on this on the other side. Copy it, paste it, move it along, and Control E to flatten it. Use the clone brush, patch that seam up, and use the smudge tool, and I'm going to break that far horizon line a little bit up so it doesn't look so copied and pasted. Okay. All right, cool. That's a good start. Now, same as what I did with the foreground layer, I am going to add a blue background, so it's going to make it easier for me to remove later on after I've created a new version of it in Stable Diffusion. So I'm going to do that now. And I do that by going underneath this layer. This layer is currently layer 1. We're going to call this horizon line. We'll just call it horizon. And actually, I did say I was going to create this foreground element at the same time. So let's do that as well. So we'll take the horizon, and I'm just going to duplicate this layer. And I'm going to call it foreground. Okay. So if we hide the horizon, so now I've just got the foreground up. Then we grab the eraser tool. I'll just start off with just grabbing the lasso tool again, same as I did before in my Huion, and I'm just going to draw basically some grassy elements here that I would expect to see in the foreground as a different layer. Oops, I did that wrong. I'll do that again. So go down and I'll just draw the grass in. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's better. Okay, now if I delete, I've deleted a big chunk of that grass. And again, I can use the smudge tool if I deselect, break up this line a little bit, make it look a little bit more natural. So I'm literally painting with the smudge tool now to create these kind of foreground grass elements that will come into play later on when we're animating all of this. And I might not do very much with that. I might leave that because it's quite oil painting looking. But then if we bring up our horizon now, so this is a separate layer now. So I can do whatever I want with this horizon layer and don't have to worry about this foreground layer. So we'll deselect the foreground layer. So we've just got the horizon layer. And this is the one that we're going to drop into Stable Diffusion and generate something unique with. So go underneath that layer, create a new layer, and we're going to call this blue screen, just to keep track of it. And it's got a blue color. That's just identifying it a little bit so it's visually easier to see in the layer section. So I'm going to grab this paint bucket tool here on the left and a blue color with the color selection. That is very different from any of these foreground elements. So I've just flood filled in that lower layer that we call blue screen. So if I hide it, you can see it there. So remember, I'm doing all this, but I still have this layer here hidden. We'll bring it to the top. And that's our original painting. So if I drop this painting underneath our foreground layer, we can see how that foreground layer is going to mask the painting a little bit. It's going to mask her feet and, you know, her dress, and it creates a new layer to play with. So again, we just hide that layer for now. Hide the foreground. Stay in the horizon. I'm going to save off a copy now. Let's call it background. And I will put it into my rework folder with our other elements. So here's a background. Let's call it unflattened. Just so I know that this is the one with all the layers separate. We can delete this white background. That's not going to be used ever. So we've got a blue background, horizon layer, our original painting, and our foreground layer. So we've already got like some elements to play with. Our blue background we can swap out for a sky texture. But for now, let's just concentrate on the horizon. So we'll hide those. Just save what we're working on. I like to incrementally save just in case I do something wrong. So I'm going to go save as unflattened 01. Save. Now I'm going to flatten it. So I'm going to go layer, flatten image. Yes to discard hidden layers. And that allows me to save it as a JPEG file. So now I'm going to save it as a JPEG file. Save as JPEG. And we'll call it background. Just background. 01. Underscore image prompt. For now, I'm just going to keep the quality up to maximum because I've got a rescale I want to do first. So because this is going to be too big. So we'll go into our image size and rescale the image so that its width is a maximum of 1024. And the height at 476 is great. That's perfect. I can work with that. Click OK. And if I zoom out, you can see that we haven't really lost too much detail, but it's a nice size for Stable Diffusion to work with. So now if I file save as now, and I'm just going to save over. Yeah, it's a nice 400 kilobyte file, ready for Stable Diffusion. So now I'm going to fire up Stable Diffusion and we'll have a play with that background, because I'm sure everybody's just waiting for Stable Diffusion rather than wanting to play around in Photoshop. So just firing up Stable Diffusion now. And I'll bring up the Stable Diffusion page. You can see underneath my webcam is the prompt window, and it will launch a HTML browser with Stable Diffusion. Now, if you haven't got Stable Diffusion and you want to do this, the link to Stable Diffusion is in the description to this video. So go and download it, and then you can have a play and follow it along with this tutorial. Let's just make sure that I can see okay. Yep, okay, cool. All right, Stable Diffusion. So let's grab that image that we created and bring it into Stable Diffusion now. That sound, which I heard, was Stable Diffusion being ready. And you can see it's green now, which means it's ready. So let's choose our background file. There it is, background image prompt, open. And the image size of our seeded generation will be the same. It'll be a width of 1024 and a height of 576. So I know that that's the right aspect ratio for our final image. And when I go to create our final generation, I can scale it up to 4 times and it will be 4K. It'll be perfect for compositing into After Effects. So this is really good. This is one of the things I really like about a stable diffusion. But for now, we're going to deselect fix incorrect faces and eyes, and deselect upscale the image to 4 times the resolution, because I just want to see what it's going to create with the same style sets that I've been playing with. We're going to change the text prompt to landscape, and we're going to generate 2 images at once and a total of 4, so we can do it twice. Number of inference steps, I'm going to change that to 35 because that's faster, not 355. That won't work, it'll probably fail. Now, drawing style, I'm not going to select drawing style. For visual style, I am going to select Art Nouveau, because Art Nouveau is the theme of the Art Nouveau manifesto. And just scrolling down, when it comes, oh, actually, before I change that, in image modifiers here, you can see we've got image style, and it's currently set to face. Now I can change that to landscape now, and then I can see the different artist styles and visual styles as landscapes, which is what I want. So you can see it's going to create that as an Art Nouveau landscape. I don't know if I want that. I'll increase the thumbnails size so we can see a bit better. So I don't think I want to go with that kind of Art Nouveau stylized landscape, actually, because this is an oil painting. Originally it was an oil painting. So I'm going to remove that. Let's scroll down and we'll choose something a little bit looser. So we'll go into the different artist styles. Impressionistic, we've got modern art, very thick oil painting, mosaic, mural, neoclassical, photo, realistic, rococo, romantic, symbolist, surrealist, visual novel. I'm going to let's have a look at the artists, because we can use some of these artists. I know that some of these artists, some of the living artists don't want to be used, but some of these artists are in the public domain. They've been dead for over 100 years. One of such artists, he hasn't been dead for 100 years, but his work is now in public domain, is Alphonse Mucha. We could select Alphonse Mucha because that is an Art Nouveau style, but I want something a little bit more oil painting-ish, something a little bit more organic, like the original image I've fed it. So we've got Monet. Now Monet could be what I want to go with. I think I'll probably select Monet. So we're going to select Monet because Monet has a nice impressionistic visual style that I think will work. We're not going to use anything else, I think. Let's just stick with Monet. Yeah. I'm staying away from Greg Rutkowski, who doesn't like his visual style being copied with AI, which is fine. I'll respect his living wishes. Though you cannot copyright a style. Let's just reiterate that. What else? No, I think I'm on the right track with my first selection. Let's stick with that. Nobody else is giving me the feel that I want, or the feel I kind of painted with the original painting, which was very sloppy. Jesus. Yep, okay. Sorry, I just had to check to make sure I actually had Stable Diffusion up on my live stream. Okay, so we're all ready to go. Let's go to the top now and generate our first set of seeds. Let's see what it comes up with. I'm going to change the prompt strength though. I'm going to make it about 50-50. Actually, let's make it about 6. Let's make it 7. Now, I'm going to be really leaning heavily into the Claude Monet prompt there and the landscape prompt, because I'm not precious about that painting. That was really sloppy, and I just mocked that up in Photoshop in like a couple of minutes. So who cares about that? Let's just wipe it from the face of the earth and let Stable Diffusion create something better for us. Let's go make image. And the other good thing about using landscapes versus characters is that Stable Diffusion, I think it has more options for landscapes. It's easier doing landscapes. It doesn't have to worry about fingers and hands and faces. And if it goes wrong, it just looks like a stylistic choice rather than like a horrible anatomical monstrosity. So, yeah, it really does landscapes well. When it comes to creating backgrounds, I think that's where Stable Diffusion is going to be a powerful tool for myself as an animator. So if you don't know my background, I actually started doing line animation for a company called Toons Animation. We worked on contracts for Walt Disney Television. So I worked for Walt Disney doing Timon and Pumbaa, The Quack Pack. We did Third Pig for Tales from the Crypt, episode 56. We did Redux Riding Hood. We were nominated for a Academy Award for Redux Riding Hood. I also worked on Pith Possum, which was the American kind of Disney take on Secret Squirrel, I think. And no, on Danger Mouse, I think, yeah. And we did Tex Tinstar, which was again the Disney version of Disney take on Lucky Luke. Okay, so there's a background image. Now the problem with this is it's too close. But we've got another couple of generations to come. So it looks great though. It actually looks really lovely. I think we can really work with that, which is cool. But yeah, we've got 2 more images to create. So we'll see if it gives us some better options, or just some options. 49 seconds. Done it. Waiting for that sound. This is actually still reasonably fast, because if I show you my settings here, I've got it set to turbo mode, and I've got it set to, the one thing that slows it down but makes it look better is I've got it set to full precision, because I have a fast graphics processing unit. That's what GPU stands for. And I've got about 8 gigabytes of RAM assigned. I could probably make it faster if I deselected use full precision. So actually I'll deselect that. No, wait, I'll keep that up for our final. I think I'm going to keep that up. Okay, so that's better. That's a little bit further. I kind of just wanted a bit more distance in my background. So this didn't seem like enough distance. Neither did this, but these last 2, well, this one specifically, I like that. So we're going to use this specific seed 6142296, which is the input. We can select use as input, and you can see it's now in here. We're not going to select random image. We're going to create just one last one, because it looks pretty good already, and because I just want to keep this tutorial moving quickly. One image in parallel, one image to make. Same specs for the image size, because we know that's the right aspect ratio for our final. We can have the prompt strength high, but not that high, because I don't want it to completely change the image. So we're going to drop that prompt strength down to 0.25. And one final difference is we're going to select upscale the image to 4 times the resolution, which is going to give me a 4K background to work with. So everything's set there, everything's ready. There's our new initial image in the image prompt, and we're using landscape and Claude Monet as a stylistic choice. So let's go make image. And we'll see. Hopefully it'll generate it quite quickly because it's only creating one, but it is upscaling it to 4 times, which takes a little bit longer. Here we go. Oh, God, I'm so tired. It's not actually tiredness, it's fatigue. Just makes you feel like you're dying all the time. Even look like I'm dying these days. 88%. 1 second to go. That's no good at all. I can't work with that. So I'm just going to generate. We'll select random image and generate 2 at a time. Sorry, 2 at a time and 4 in total. Because if it's going to do that, it often does these kind of pixelated, really chunky versions. I can actually stop this. Stop this. One last change. Remove that. It's so bad I just don't even look at it. I'm just trying to stop the queue. There we go. Okay, one last change is I'm going to increase the number of inference steps up to 50, which should also create a higher quality final image. So now I'm going to go make all. Let's see how it does now. It's still using the same seed. Which is this image here, I think. Yeah. Sorry, I know it's a bit annoying. I'm sort of being a little bit fussy with the quality of the image I'm trying to create, but I mean, I'm trying to use the software which can take all of the control out of your hands. I'm trying to retain as much control over the generation of the new image that I can by sort of tweaking the settings, which you can do. And part of that is your prompt strength, and by feeding it with your own images, which is how I've done it and how I'm going to continue to do it. So 46 seconds. Hopefully I'm making sense and I'm tired or fatigued, should I say. So okay, I can definitely work with that. That looks cool. You can see it's got a lot more detail. But it's going to generate 2 more for me. So let's see what the next 2 look like as well before I settle on a background. Time remaining 20, 17, 14 seconds. Gotta keep my back straight. Actually, my back's feeling better now that I'm out of bed. That's so stupid. I'm very lucky. I have some very understanding clients that sort of get when I have my bad days and aren't pressuring me. Plus, sort of the nature of some of the corporate work that I've been working on is it's pretty lax. You're usually waiting for a while for a reply just to emails. So I think I like these last 2 better, and I quite like what's sort of happening here. So I'm probably going to go that this has a better feel of distance. No, this is good. Yeah, no, I'm going to go with this one. So this is going to be my final image. Let's download. I've never tried to do that. Oh yeah, cool. Just downloading it made it real easy for me because I can find it very easily. So let's jump back into Photoshop now. Now that we've got a background layer that I'm happy with. Back to Photoshop. Look, see, that's the original background that we started with, which is pretty rough. Like, I'm no Monet. I know. it's a shock to me as well. Let's open up. So I'm going to just paste that generation. So this is the generation from Stable Diffusion. So it's already creating different elements for me. So this is the new background. If I go Control A now and copy that, then jump back into and open up what I need to open up is my unflattened background, the original. Let's open that up. So this is the flattened background, and we're going to go just on. I'm going to select the blue screen layer because that's the furthest. That's the background layer, and everything is layered on top of that layer. And then I'm going to go Control V for paste, and it's actually pasted it. I know you can't see it, but if I deselect the horizon here, you can see there it is, our nice new background, which is we're going to comp in with all of these elements here. But see, that's a vast improvement on that. That's what we started with. That's what we fed Stable Diffusion, and Stable Diffusion created that. So there's a huge difference. But that's because we used quite a high prompt strength. If I used a layer prompt strength, I might get something more than that, but why would I? Because that looks like garbage now in comparison. So we do have our foreground element. So there's our foreground element, which it doesn't look too bad already. Even over the top of the Monet style, because, you know, me and Monet. No. It doesn't look too bad. It's not too distracting. And then you can sort of see this layer, how it's going to sort of work in with it. Or if we really want to jump ahead, we can grab, let's deselect that, close that, grab here. Did I close it? Grab our rework, which is here. And I'm going to use, this is the magic wand tool. I'm going to use the magic wand tool to select all the blue, or if I actually still have this blue color selected, but if I select the blue color for the background and use select color range, it brings up tool, and if I use localize, no, actually, if I reduce the fuzziness, range, sorry, all I want is to select the background. It's not really letting me do that very well. I'm going to cancel out that. It's not really working well for me. So I'm just going to stick with my original thought, which is to use the magic wand tool. So this is the magic wand tool. If I click on the background, it's only set to tolerance of 10, so it's not selecting it perfectly. So let's change the tolerance for the magic wand tool up to 30. And now if we click on the blue, it's selecting just about all of the background, and I don't have to tweak any of the color range settings, because yeah, that was taking me down a rabbit hole that was going to reduce my speed of delivery for this tutorial. So now if I hold down the shift key, you can see the magic wand has a little plus icon underneath it now. This is without the shift key, this is with the shift key. So that means I can add to the selection. So I can select, say, the blue in here, and in here, the blue in here, next to her elbow, and the blue here behind her knee, and then I've pretty much got just about all of the foreground elements. There's probably some sort of elements here, like there's a loop here and a here. There's another little bit of blue here. And there's a little bit of blue right there. But I think we can probably get rid of that just using the eraser tool. So that's a good start. That's selected the blue. That's not selected the character. So we use Shift Control I. Now that's selected the inverse of the blue, which is the character. Now I go Control C for copy, and that's copied it into the clipboard for me. So now if we go into the background unflattened, select, I'll hide the foreground for now. Select the layer 1. I'm going to change the name of layer 1 to background. And now I'm going to go Control V to just paste her into the scene. Now she's a bit big for the scene, so I can go Control T to resize it, to resize her so that she is in scale with the scene. So because I know that this is ultra high definition, this is the final scale and the final resolution that we need for After Effects. This is all perfect for compositing. So that's going to come into play later. So there she is in her new background, married in. She's got a bit of a hard edge, but that's okay. There's some tricks that I can do to soften her edge. But what she does have is she has this nice foreground element. So we've got layers starting to happen now, and it's going to create quite a bit of depth when I come to animating all these layers in After Effects. So now if I just deselect this, you can sort of see what her scale was. So she's actually a lot smaller in the original image. I'm just going to leave her at the scale for now. In fact, we'll just hide her, because that's just to give you an idea of what we're doing. And now we're going to work on this layer here, or these layers here. Basically, I just want to separate the tree now. Now that's a little bit harder. This is a little bit more involved. So I'll deselect the foreground. I can even deselect the background for now. And I'm going to just create another copy of this. And I'm going to call this back branches. Okay, so this is back branches, and this first layer, I'm going to drag this below the first layer. This first layer, I'm going to call this front branch. Okay, so now I'm going to deselect front branch, and we're just going to work on the back branch for now, which is going to take a little bit more time. But I'm just going to do this really, really quickly, and I'm probably going to try and seed something new in Stable Diffusion anyhow. Excuse me. That may be influenced by that Monet style. So, but I'm going to paint my mask this time. So I select the quick mask tool here, and I've still got back branches selected, and then I'm going to select the pen tool or the brush tool here, so you can see it here. And we painted her out previously. We don't have to worry about her. She's already a separate layer. All we want to do is try and select as much as we can of the branch detail while leaving the background behind. Which this is probably going to take me a little bit of time, so just bear with me. What I might do is I might actually bring up the vlog music, because I'm going to go quiet for a little bit while this is all happening. So yeah, let's bring the vlog music up. So, but just before I drown myself out with music, what I'm going to do is, what I'm doing is painting on with a opacity. Let's make the opacity 100% with a hard brush. Hardness 100%. At the moment, that size is good, but when I come to doing these branches, I'll probably rescale the size a little bit, make it a bit smaller. And now, then see when I paint now, it's coming up with that red mark. That red mark is actually the new mask. So if you remember from the last video, if you haven't seen the last video, that is our mask. So if I deselect out of quick masks now, you can see it's created this little mask here. So we want to do that for all of the branch, all of those back branches. So let's go back into the quick mask tool and just start painting it out. But let's listen to some vlog music while we do it.
The sunflower queen of everything, dancing all around our hearts. I just don't know where to start. The melodies are filling my head, and the words are somewhere
Using a smaller size. Just painting in these branches. Sits in one branch.
All right, so this is what I've done. Going back into Photoshop quickly. I've quick masked out really basically, really roughly the branches in the background. I've also masked in some of these leaves, again, very roughly, just because I want some leaves to be generated as well. Otherwise it's just going to be branches. So if I have some green elements, it'll hopefully generate some leaves for me. So now if I click off the quick select tool, you can see the mask that it's created. It is very rough. It is very rough. But if I go Control C now, so it's created the inverse of the mask. So if I go Shift Control Inverse, now it's selected the branches that I painted over. Then I go Control C to copy those branches. Then I go Control V to paste it as a separate layer. Now if I hide those back branches, you can see what we have. We have just a real basic cutout now. But it's actually not too bad, even just like that. But see, if we deselect, if we show our background now, we've got this nice element. We can probably make this bigger, but what I want to do is I'm probably going to reconstruct it a little bit, just using the smudge tool. And you can see the foreground element, if we bring the foreground element as well, and then also the character, if we bring the character in. So obviously she's too big for the branches at the moment, which is why she's going to be scaled down. I'll scale down a little bit now. Let's scale her down. Whoops. So she's going to be more like this. I guess I don't need to worry too much. I've got her as another file. So she's going to be more like that. But she's actually in front of those branches anyhow. So she's going to be more like this. So those are how our layers are going to work. However, because of the aspect ratio of the original branches, obviously it's not extending to the full edge of the page. So I'm just going to really quickly just map things out a little bit with the smudge tool before I bring it into stable diffusion. So we'll just hide these other layers again. Hide her. So we've just got the branch layer selected, and then using my handy pen tool, because this just makes life so much easier. But again, I could do this with the mouse. I've got the mouse selected at the moment, so I could just literally grab that and smudge it. It's not looking very good though. Why is that? Normal strength. Change the strength up to 100%. So we'll zoom in a bit so I can see what I'm doing. And yeah, that's better. So I'm literally just like creating new branch structures by using the smudge tool and drawing them in, which is one of the advantages of actually having some basic art skills when you're doing this sort of stuff. So, because I can do it quite quickly. No, I don't need to be too precious about this, because again, I'm going to get Stable Diffusion to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me in a second. I just want to give it the best opportunity to give me what I want. So let's extend this out a bit. The best way to do that is to give it the best image to work with. So let's fix this curve here at the top, and it's probably good enough for the purposes of this tutorial. So again, really rough, because the quality doesn't matter at this stage. Just save for now. Now I'm going to save over as well this file over my incremental background. Replace it. It's okay. I'm going to flatten this whole image
The reason why I did that is I know that I have a copy. I know I have background unflattened, already saved with all of this at this stage. I'm not going to lose anything by flattening this version of it. So now I flatten it. And now I'm going to save it off, save as a JPEG. And we're going to call it background branches. _ image prompt. And image prompt. And just for now, I'm going to keep the quality high because I haven't done the rescale. So now I'm going to rescale it the same way as before. Go image size, rescale the width to 1024. Go OK. And file save as. Make sure we're just saving over the branch image prompt. Save. Yes, we want to replace that. Cool. All right. So we'll jump back into Stable Diffusion. Now. All right, we're back in Stable Diffusion. Forget about that background now. We can remove all of this. So let's just remove it. We're going to swap out our initial image with the branches we just created. So we go choose file, background, image prompt, branches. It's still set to the correct aspect ratio from our last gen. We're going to deselect upscale the image. We're going to keep the prompt strength pretty low to start off with, because I kind of want something similar, but I just want something that's improved from something that I just whipped up in Photoshop. Keep the iterations at 25. We generate 4 at a time. And we're going to stick with our Claude Monet style. So go make image now. Actually, cancel that. Cancel that. I forgot. I need to change the landscape text prompt to branches. Okay, now we're good. So I'll just stop the render. We'll get there eventually. Okay. Branches by Claude Monet. How can you go wrong? Well, if you can, Stable Diffusion will show you how you can go wrong. Right, 15%, 55 seconds before it shows us our first set, first 2 seeds. One of them is probably going to be incredibly pixelated because it seems to do that for the first gen, which is weird. Okay, it's not bad, it's not great. That one's not bad. That, I think out of the two of them, I probably prefer the second. I kind of like that it's keeping a nice painty style. So that's kind of cool. But it's got 2 more to create. And then I'm going to just pump the prompt strength up and just see what it'll jam out with. In fact, I can change the prompt strength now. So I'm going to increase the prompt strength. But I just want to probably grab one of the seeds and use that. So I'm going to increase the prompt strength to just 5. All right, let's finish that first batch. Those were our first 2. And these are our last 2. So I think I probably like out of those, probably this one most. So we'll select that as our next input. And we'll try again. So let's give it another shot. Now it's going to use our new seed and create 4 different variations of that seed so I can choose from them and see what works. But this time round, the first time I did it, it was 0.25, so it was using quarter of the text prompt in the image modifier, and it was using 75% of the actual initial image. This time round, it's using 50% of the initial image and 50% of these branches. So we're stepping away a little bit further from my original artwork. 2 minutes 27 seconds. Why is it going to take that? Why is it taking long? Oh, just because I've increased the prompt strength. So again, I kind of went over this with the last video, but every time you increase your prompt strength, it takes a little bit longer to generate your new images, your new seeds. The other thing I can do is I can deselect, use full precision, which I think I'll do for this next batch. And that should speed things up a little bit, just for the purposes of this video. I've still got inference steps to set to 50. I could have that set to 35, which would probably make it a little bit faster as well. But we're not upscaling in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Getting bored now. Okay, so there's, see, like I said, the first seed usually ends up looking a bit digitized. That definitely looks a bit digitized. The second seed looks very Monet-ish and quite stylized and quite cool. It doesn't look 100% like what I originally started with, but I mean, we're jamming it with the software, and I like that we're jamming with the software. I could take that image prompt down a little bit, and then I get something a little bit closer to my original seed. Or I could change my text prompt. So what I might do is I'll change my text prompt so it's not just saying branches. I'll change it so it says branches, leaves, and blossoms. And we'll see if the next time we do this, didn't spell blossoms right. We'll see if the next time we see this, if it adds some elements into the tree for us to save me some time. Which is what this is all about, really, is saving time. Like I turned 50 this year, and there's not a lot of time left in my lifetime to create all of the different sort of things going on in my head. Though, to be absolutely honest, I could paint something, you know, within 5 to 10 minutes of this quality easily. I just like the fact that it's jamming for me. So this is kind of cool. So maybe we'll take this as our next text prompt. This is kind of cool as well. I like this. It's more branchy. So we've got this. It's got a few more leaves and stuff. This has got a nice clear center stem, center trunk, and this is a little bit more funky. I think this is kind of a middle ground, but I really like it's got a nice strong central core, which is going to come into play with our compositing. So we use this as our input, select that, and we'll just make 4 more images using that and leaves and blossoms as well, and see if it adds some more elements to this picture. Now I took off use full precision, which means it's using less VRAM, and I think that means it's going to generate this a lot faster. It looks like it is. It looks like it took about, it says 204 seconds last time, but I think it took about 6 minutes all up. Does that add up? 180. All right, good. We got a 1 minute and 1 second, 59 seconds. Probably won't have changed the quality too much. Our prompt strength is staying the same at 0.5. And so again, the first one is unusable, looks really digitized. Our second one, that's kind of cool. It's definitely got that Monet sort of style. I'm going to try one more gen after this because I'm going to step away from Monet and just let the AI use the image and the text without any image modifiers. In fact, we'll take that off now. But let's see what our next two of this look like. Maybe we'll use those as our image prompt. One second to go. Ah, yeah, definitely. Let's use this one. This looks cool. So we're going to use that as the input. Now we've taken Monet away. So it's just this text and this image. But it's given us a few nice pink blossoms on the trees, and I like that. So let's see if it if the AI takes those blossoms and runs with it with the next gen. But again, we've deselected Monet, so we're not going to get something quite as stylized for this next generation. And then we're going to, after this seed, we're going to upscale our final choice. So we'll set up to upscale now. So number of images to make 1. Generate in parallel 1. Number of inference steps, we're going to leave that at 50 because otherwise it's going to take too long. We're going to, and we're going to change the prompt strength down to 0.1. Actually, we'll make it 0.2 because with landscapes we can afford to be a little bit creative. And we're going to change our render settings to upscale the image to 4 times the resolution. There we go. So again, same problem as before. First generation always looks really generated. That looks really nice. I really like that. So the second gen is looking kind of cool. There's a lot happening here that I'm going to have to remove though. But we've got some nice flowers. We've got some leaves happening. We've got 2 more to generate. Let's look at the next 2, see if it progresses even further. At the moment, I'm pretty happy with that one. And boom. All right, so that's a bit smeary. This one's a bit dabby. And this one, that's my favorite one. So I think I'm going to go with this one. So we'll download it again. Show in folder so I can find it easily. Cut it. And let's jump into Photoshop now with that generation. All right, cool. So I have to open up my background again because I keep on saving off incremental versions of it. So background unflattened. Let's open that back up again. So this was the branches. Now this is the seed with the new branches. Oh, I missed a step, didn't I? Look, that's too small. You can tell because when I open it up, it's this size. It should be the same size. So I need to create a final generation. So let's just jump back into Stable Diffusion. Sorry about this. That's what happens when you're fatigued. Get a bit of brain fog. So yeah, let's select that image that we decided was the one to go with. This one, use as input, because I want to create that upscaled final image. I'm going to change the number of inference steps up to 100. So it's a little bit more detailed, and it's going to be 4 times the size. Okay, I can't believe I forgot that step. All right, and that's the one that we're going to actually bring in as a new layer. Oh, sorry, I need to stop that. Because I'm only creating one, and the first one is always digitized. Why did I forget that? Stop all. All right. So sorry about this. We'll create 2 images because the second it'll be the second one that isn't digitized. I guarantee it. If I was a betting man, if I was a gambling man, which I'm not, I'd put money down on it that the first seed will look digitized unless I unless I select random image. It doesn't seem to do it so much when random image isn't selected, but when you're using a seed, it seems to do that. All right, but that's a lot faster having the use full precision deselected. It's a lot slower as well if you don't have turbo mode on. So I realized I did those first tutorials and I forgot to mention select turbo mode, but I was using full precision, so it probably would have been about as slow. So we've got 1 second. Let's have a look at these 2 images. What you got for us? What you got for us? Jesus, that's a long second. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. What did I change? I changed the number of inference steps. We're going to reduce that. Let's change the prompt strength to 0.1 because I'm not happy with the results, obviously. We're going to make 4 images, so I've got more selections, and let's keep the inference steps at 35. And we'll try again. See, it did it again. First one always looks really weird and digitized. Let's get rid of that. It's offense to my eyes. See, these are nicer. Maybe a little bit, it should be a little bit faster because I'm using less inference steps and I'm only using a prompt strength of 0.1. So it says 8 seconds. Okay. Here's the first 2, which are still not feeling. Maybe I'll add Monet back in as a prompt modifier. Ding. Oh, actually, we'll have a look and see what's created first. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, funnily enough, it's more similar to my original painting style. But I think I still would like the Monet style. So let's just grab Monet and use his style. Rather than my style. My style is more like my grandma's style. Okay. And we'll try again. With our Monet modifier. I don't want to spend too much time. This is just one element, and I just want to sort of also show you how to animate it a little bit in After Effects. And then I probably just want to watch a movie and relax. It's my brain. Oh, it's just fizzing. Okay, first one's digitized. Second one looks a little bit okay. I'm going to increase the prompt strength. Let's take that up to 0.5 again, and we'll see what it creates for these next 2. But I'm just not happy with the way it's heading. I preferred it back when we were just generating these low resolution Monet ones. Okay, that's a bit better. But we will take this. No, stick to the plan. Just go make image from this Monet prompt. Or we could use this later on, but yeah. I know I'm dithering. That's the brain fog. Okay, 1 minute approximately. Then we get to see our first two for our batch of 4. And these are all 4K images, by the way. So our image size is set to 1K here, 1024 pixels wide. Because we upscaled it to 4 times, these are all 4K resolution images. So I can use them in my composition. Time remaining 36 seconds. I think I need another coffee, but this is the last of my milk. It's better. Digitized. That's much better. Let's have a look at the next two. Maybe we'll have a winner in the next two. A second to go. Oh yeah, I like this one. This one works. Yeah. All right, we'll go with this one. Let's download this and grab it. Bring it into Photoshop. So let's go back to Photoshop now. File, paste. All right, see, that's the right size. Does this weird thing where it adds a signature, but make no mistake, this is not based on anybody's work except for my own. Aside from Monet, when you come to styles, but yeah, styles you can't copyright. Again, sorry, Greg, you can't. It's just not. It's not how it's done. It's never been done that way. All right, so I can use a flood fill tool here to speed up this process a little bit. What I'm trying to do is just get rid of these kind of mid areas which I don't need. I just want the branches and some of these leaves. The only trouble with using this flood tool is it's a little bit aggressive, creates like pixelation, sort of tooths into the image. It's currently set to tolerance of 30. I can increase the tolerance of the flood tool to 45 and it will flood it a little bit more aggressively for me. Just to speed this process up. And then the other thing I can do is just literally paint out the blue, which I might do. So I'll grab this paint tool, use my handy pen and just like literally paint over that blue. Just clean it up a little bit. All right. All right, it's taking too much time. Okay, so the next thing to do is use our magic wand tool, and I'm going to select the blue. those are the most of the blue parts that I want to get rid of. Now I'm going to inverse the selection. So Shift Control I to inverse the selection. So now it's just selecting everything but the blue. Now I'm also going to, because I know that's toothed in a little bit, I'm going to change the selection a little bit. So I'm going to go up into the selection submenu and change. I'm going to modify it. I'm going to contract it by 5 pixels, and I'm going to feather the selection by 3 pixels. Right, now I'm going to Control C to copy it, so now it's in the clipboard. Now we're going to go into our branch layer again. So here's our branch layer, sorry, our background layer, our full composite layer. That's the original branches. For Control V, that's our new branch. That's going to go over the top. And it's still not perfect. Still things we're going to change. But if we deselect the branches now, but what I can do is I can paint out elements, because I'm probably going to paint out elements. Because if you see, if I deselect our background, there's a lot of blue that's sort of polluting it now. Our foreground elements. But it is a separate layer. And I can probably scale it a little bit and put it in the back if I want. But in order to tidy it up, and again, I'm just doing things really quickly. I'm not happy with that result, but in order to do things very quickly, because I'm trying to teach a concept here, so it doesn't really matter about the result. I'm going to use the eraser tool on that branch layer and just start deleting parts of it that I don't want, that didn't work out. Mostly these blue parts. Let's make a bigger tool. Let's get rid of these. So it's got a clean line on the inside. And because Monet's style is kind of smudgy, we can get away with like painting, like smear painting again using this image. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to grab the little smear tool again and use it to, oops, let's make it a bit smaller and make the strength a little less. Actually, let's leave that strength at 100%. I just want to connect the dots here so that we don't have leaves and things like that that are floating in space. So we'll just create these new branches using this tool. It's starting to look nicer. So you can see again how relying just on Stable Diffusion to do everything for you isn't going to get you everywhere. It's not going to get you 100% with an image or a solution that you want, and you're not going to have very much control. So if I jump at each point back into Photoshop and do a little bit more Photoshop just to make it more workable, that seems to be my pipeline. I don't want to do too much because it's going to take too long. And I can paint for hours on this if I want to. Okay, so if we unhide that layer now, you can see it's improved it a bit, quite a bit. It's still got bits of this blue showing through. If I could actually get that color selection tool happening, color range selection, what you can do is you can actually select that specific type of blue that's on that layer and use the select color range. It just doesn't seem to be working. Oh yeah, there we go. That's working. Don't know why it wasn't working before. So now it should just be selecting mostly just the blue and not too much of the actual branches. In theory. Doesn't seem to be doing it very well. Oops. Select color range. Sorry, I know I'm fussing around. Seems to have the wrong color range selected. Inverted, maybe. Nah, it's not really working out for me. I don't know why this has changed, but it did used to be a lot easier to use the color range selection tool, which is a bit disappointing because I'm really not happy with the results of this. But the important thing is that it's a separate layer. I mean, I'm actually more happy with this. It's a separate layer which can be animated separately from the foreground layer and from the background, which is this. I just don't like this blue that's sort of happening. But anyhow, I digress, because what I should really be showing you, I shouldn't be worrying too much about that. I need to show you the next stage, which is the front branch, because that's the back branches, remember? So there's still the front branch. So again, we're going to make sure the front branch layer is selected, go into our quick mask tool and select the brush. It's a nice big brush. That will do. I'll get my glasses on and just make it a bit smaller. I'm a little bit conscious that this is taking a while, a little bit longer than I was hoping. Okay. That will do. That will do for the purposes of this example. So if I deselect that and then Shift Control Inverse, now we've got this foreground branch selected. Control Copy, Control Paste, and then I can hide the front branch layer. And so this is the branch. So we've got the horizon, that's the original horizon, the background, the foreground, the back branches, and the character layer. Okay, so the front branches have to be below the character, like that, and I need to repair it a little bit, but we'll just use the smudge tool to just repair it really quickly. So, and I'm gonna go and use this, even though it's not the Stable Diffusion version. I prefer it because I'm not feeling this one didn't work out for me. Sometimes these experiments don't work out. That's life. Let's delete everything else. I mean, hide everything else for now. So I've just got the branch up. Grab the smear tool. Make sure I'm on the front branch layer. Let's relabel this to front branch. Delete that now. Let's delete back branches as well. Delete horizon because that's now background. And we're working on the front branch. So we've got the smudge tool selected. Let's make it bigger. It's good size. Zoom in. And let's join the branch up. I mean, the branch is behind our character, so it doesn't matter too much. And we'll do the same thing with these. We'll just extend these branches up so that it fills out an entire ultra high K monitor. Okay, cool. All right, that's probably good enough. So here's our character at the top. Here's our back branches, not the AI Gen ones, just the originals, because I prefer that. I'm just going to go and extend these branches up really quickly in a really rough way. And our background. Okay. And our foreground. So we have all these elements happening now. The only thing we don't have happening is the sky, but if we deselect those foreground elements now, just for now, so I've got this background selected, and use our magic wand tool. We'll set the tolerance up to 60 maybe. And again, what I can do is go shift. Actually, I'll use this rectangle tool, go shift. So I'm adding to the selection. Every time you push shift, it's adding to the selection. You can see there's the selection tool. It's got a little cross underneath it now for add to. Now I've added to the selection just to get rid of those little dots at the top. So all of this is going to be sky. Now we'll go control, inverse, invert. Actually, no, I'll stick with just the blue selected, and we're going to expand it. So go select, modify, expand by 6 pixels, feather by 3, go select, modify, feather by 3, and delete. And that's deleted the blue. It's got a little bit of blue left, but that's okay. So the blue screen, that's going to be our sky layer. Again, I'm just rushing through this. I'm not worried about the quality. But we'll jump into Stable Diffusion now while we're needing a sky. So let's jump to Stable Diffusion and make a sky. So forget the branches. We're done with branches. Let's remove all of these. We'll clear all. Get rid of the image prompt. We'll keep Claude Monet up, and then we're just going to go and type in cloudy sky. Cloudy, oops, spelled that wrong. Cloudy to give us some visual interest. It's going to be in Claude Monet style. We're going to upscale it. We don't need to worry about that. We'll just set it to random image. We'll make 4, so we have 4 options, and we'll just generate that. It's going to take a little bit longer because we're just using text and an image modifier, but it's always a bit faster if you feed it with an image prompt first. So now it's using more of the AI to generate the image. It's using the cloud, I think. Again, it doesn't collage Claude Monet's paintings together to create a sky. What it does is it's analyzed a data set of Claude Monet's images. It hasn't sampled those images. It's analyzed those images. And from that, it's created a code which says, when you say Claude Monet, it throws up like a judge, a piece of software that assesses what that means. So the code goes up, and then the piece of code generates using its assessment, just generates on the fly using its data set a Claude Monet sky using its interpretation of what a cloudy sky looks like. So it's also got a data set that understands what a cloudy sky is. And then it's got another piece of code that says, I don't know if that really looks like Claude Monet. I don't know if that looks like a sky. Doesn't look like his style. And then it will send that back to the other piece of the algorithm, and it'll keep on generating until it keeps that other piece of judgy software happy. That probably didn't make a lot of sense. Okay, we've got a minute to go. Again, it's taking a little while. It's creating a cloudy sky for us. Hopefully there's no landscape images, landscape in this. There's a little bit of landscape. That's okay. We can get away with that, because that's going to be hidden by our existing landscape. And that's not bad. So either of those two could work for us. But it's creating 2 more images, so we may as well have a look at those last 2 images, and that's going to be our sky layer. .44 seconds. Sorry, I know I'm really just rushing through, and I'm not creating anything that looks particularly amazing at the moment. But I just want to show you the process and the pipeline for how I'm creating these composite images. And you do need 3 pieces of software, right? Like, one is Stable Diffusion. So if you haven't got Stable Diffusion, go to the description of this video, and there's a link. Go to the link and download it. Unzip the download into your C drive or any other root folder, and then run the command prompt for Stable Diffusion in there. The instructions for installing it and going through that process are all on the page that you go to from that link. All right. The final gen for us. Final 2. Okay, here we go. So we've got like a purple one here. I think I'm going to go with this one. Though this is more stylized. And yeah, all of them work. I just don't need any of this foreground, or the background element, but it doesn't matter. So let's download this and copy that, or cut it, bring it into Photoshop, file, open, paste. That's our cloudy sky. Copy that, and then go into our background. And I'm on the blue screen layer at the moment, so all I need to do is go Control V, and it's pasted in our sky. So the horizon line's a little bit off, and there's still a bit of a blue, the blues left, because I didn't delete it all. So I mean, you can sort of see it on this background layer. So I can fuss around later and like literally delete more of the blue to make it look cleaner. And then the other thing I can do is I can drag up the landscape, the background sky, so that it's using a more suitable part of the sky rather than this part. So this part's not quite right. This part's going off into the distance a bit more, if that makes sense. How big is that? We can scale it down a little bit more. We can even distort it a little bit. So that's our Monet sky. It doesn't quite work with the foreground element, but what we can do is we can use Harmonize. So this is, hopefully Harmonize is set. This is another neural network. So if I've got background selected, what I want to do is actually change the sky so it looks more like the background. If that makes sense. Same sort of warm tones. I'm just going to drag the sky over the top for now. Then while the sky is selected, I'm going to go up into the filters, into neural filters. These are all new. And inside the neural filters is Harmonization. I have to download it first, so I'm just downloading it now. Okay, so Harmonization basically helps to blend different color sets. It helps with compositing. It's a real nice, quick solution. So at the moment I'm doing it to the sky layer. Now I just select our background layer. And it should kind of have made it similar to the background layer. I just pump its layers up, levels up a bit. So I've assigned it to the current layer. And let's just drag it back underneath. And I can go the other way as well. I can select this background and harmonize it more with the sky layer. So if I go into neural networks now, filter, neural filters, should I say? Not neural networks. Nah. Go harmonization, and then select the sky. Now it's sort of a bit more muted, a bit more like the sky color. And that composite's much nicer. And it's even sort of resolved some of this problem with this blue edge. So let's have a look at these other layers. We've got this layer. So I'd probably have to go through that same process with these different layers. So with that layer selected, this layer looks like arse now. Let's actually deselect this. Go have a look, see what this looks like. Maybe if we try just harmonizing this layer, it might resolve some of my problems. You see we've got a big chunk of blue up here. It just looks ugly to me. Who's with me? Looks like shit. Excuse me, I shouldn't have sworn. Looks bad. There's just too much of this remaining blue. It's just wigging me out. So I'm just gonna, said I was gonna use this, but at least it looks a little bit more natural. while I've got the branches selected, I'm going to go in and use that same neural network filter, harmonization, and harmonize it with the background. And I'm going to select the sky layer to give it that muted tone that that Monet painting had. Okay. All right, let's deselect that. Now we remember we've got a foreground branch. Probably going to do the same thing with that. Go up to filters, neural filters, use the harmonization. Select the sky layer and let it do its thing. And we've got her. And we've got our foreground element. And our foreground element's definitely going to need to go through that process. So let's go into the foreground now. Into the neural network and use harmonization on the foreground and select the sky layer. And I'm just going to take the strength down a bit. That's not bad. Okay. Yeah, this all looks really rough. It doesn't look better than the original painting at this stage, but that's okay. I can just keep on playing forever. I could mute her, so I'm going to create a copy of her and then hide the copy, just so I can go backwards if I need to. But I can use the same thing. I can go into the filters here, into neural networks, and harmonize her with the sky. Ooh, it's making her pop. Let's reduce the strength a little bit. Okay, that looks okay. All right, so let's delete what we're not using. We can get rid of the blue screen now. We've got a sky layer. Got foreground. I'm just going to take the foreground underneath layer 2, and I'm going to label these layers properly. So layer 2 is woman. We've got front branch. Layer 4 is branches, or back branches. Back branches. We've got our background layer, and we've got our sky. And it's all looking really messy at the moment. I know that. I get that. But it doesn't really matter too much. Because I just want to start to animate these layers. So we'll save all this off. We'll save this off as a new version. Let's call it previs. Short for pre-visualization. And we'll fire up After Effects now. Get ready to jump into that. So hopefully you have After Effects as well, because otherwise this isn't going to work very well. I just did all that without Photoshop up, so I'm really sorry about that. Sorry, God, I can't believe I did that. That's the trouble with not seeing your screen at the same time. Basically, fuck. Excuse me, I'm swearing. Yeah. Damn it! I did all that compositing off screen. Now I'm at a different stage. Damn it! Don't you hate that? That's the trouble of trying to live stream when you're sleep deprived. And yes, I am overdue with my After Effects, with my Adobe subscription. Let's close this. I'm also hitting the 2-hour mark, which is way too long for any of this kind of thing. So look, actually what I'm going to do is, because I've stuffed up a little bit, I'm going to do the motion graphics part of this as a separate video, because hopefully that's shown you a few things that you can try with using layers in Photoshop with Stable Diffusion. I know I kind of did the last 10 minutes off screen, but yeah, I'll probably repeat that process a little bit when I come to compositing, doing the compositing in After Effects. So my apologies that this hasn't quite worked out the way I had in my head, this live stream, but we're going to end it now. I'm going to do a part 4. Well, it's actually a separate video, which is animating layers of Photoshop, animating your Stable Diffusion generations, because we have a background, a sky, the middle character, and these back branches. They've all been created using Stable Diffusion to synthesize them and give them a little bit more character. In some ways it's made it worse, in some ways it's made it better. But that's the workflow. All right. Definitely not making any sense. Okay. Thank you for watching and being patient with me as I dither through my chronic fatigue syndrome and brain fog this time round. But yeah, if you want to follow the next stage of this video where I animate all those layers in After Effects, you're going to have to probably subscribe to YouTube, to my channel on YouTube, and you're probably going to have to hit notifications, because otherwise you're not going to know the next time I go live. I'm sorry, these are kind of random, and they're usually in the middle of the night here in New Zealand. There's no real consistency for these vlogs, but you can also watch the replay anyhow if you can't catch me live. All right, thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful to somebody out there, and I will catch you back here again for the next stage. All right, later.